It's time for Pawn of the Dead. Join us!
I don't know why you do that. Like, you get there and you're like, shit. And I'm like,
no, shut up.
It's the old age thing again.
Older than Hello, and welcome to Pot of the Dead. What are you laughing about? I am your host. I'm not going to say my last name. I'm your host, Nicholas, and with me, as always, are the asshole ladies, Stephanie and Natasha.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
On today's episode, welcome to the new year. This is our first full-fledged episode for 2024. And on today's episode, we are talking about the 1982 horror film The Thing by John Carpenter. Prior to this episode, what are your ladies' history with this film?
Well, I always confuse it with another John Carpenter movie, so it was nice to finally get to watch The Thing and not get it confused with The Mist. I think that's a John Carpenter.
Are you thinking of The Fog? That's the John Carpenter. Yeah,
The Fog?
That's the John Carpenter one.
This Mist and Fog, there's no difference. I mean, really, come on.
But I always, in talking to you and stuff, I would always be like, oh, is that The Thing? And you go, no, that's the other one. So that was really my only history. So it was nice to finally get to watch the movie.
Yeah, I had already seen this movie. This is one of Nick's favorite movies. So shortly after we got together, he's like, "Have you seen The Thing?" And I'm like, "Probably not." So he put me through it, and I watched it with him.
Sit down, watch this thing.
Yeah.
The Thing is in a class for me of. There's not many films that I think I've seen as many times as I've seen this. The only other films that come to mind are like Beetlejuice, and that's about it. And I've seen The Lord of the Rings a lot, but I still don't think that I've seen those films as much as I've seen Beetlejuice and The Thing. And yeah, so I've seen this movie. I watched it for the podcast. I did not have to. I knew every goddamn little thing about this film going through it. So it was nice to watch it again. I got it out of the way for the year, basically. I'll probably end up seeing it again sometime this year, but yeah, I've always loved this movie. But yeah, so we usually go over the budget for this film. So this came out in 1982,
which is older than all of us.
Yeah. What do you think the budget for a horror sci-fi film in 1982 would be from Universal? This was from Universal Pictures,
with Kurt Russell as being the main character, and there was a lot of other famous people in this movie. So
this was all kind of before they got famous, though. Kurt Russell was he did some Disney stuff prior to this, and then he'd worked with John Carpenter on Escape from New York right before it, but that's about it, really. He did not have he was not Kurt Russell like we look at him now. And then Wilford Brimley was not a named actor, really. This was his first kind of thing. This was kind of the starting point for a lot of these guys.
I'm curious, I'm looking right now. Keith David is in this, and he's a really good character in this. And I thought he had been in probably some things before, but maybe not. I'm gonna look. He was also in another John Carpenter movie. I didn't realize that.
Which one?
They Lived.
Oh, yeah.
And it was that came out in 1988.
Yeah, that's the one with Roddy Piper, the one where they wear the sunglasses to see the aliens. And it's so fucking good in the sense of it's that whole thing of hiding in plain sight, and the aliens are actually controlling the media and propaganda and stuff, consume and all that kind of stuff. That's from that. So a lot of that Obey clothing brand and stuff takes a lot of their ideology and stuff from They Live.
Okay.
But yeah, so 1982, what do you guys thinking the budget is?
Oh my god. We've had some all over the fucking place. I'm gonna go with 7 million.
I'll go with 9 million.
It was a $15 million budget.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Which was larger than the average horror film for its time.
That's not surprising.
Friday the 13th came out in 1980, and that was only a $700,000 budget. And John Carpenter's original Halloween was made for $375,000. So this was way bigger.
This
was a huge budget for this. And even then, I believe, so this came out in 82. Alien came out in 79, and I think Alien was only an $11 million budget.
Oh, wow. See, that's a better frame of reference for me, because like a slasher versus a sci-fi monster movie, it makes sense that the sci-fi one would cost more, but more than Alien is pretty surprising.
Yeah. So considering it was $15 million, I only have what it made domestic. What do you think it made in the United States upon its release?
So bad at this.
I don't know. I am too. I'm gonna say 35 million.
35? So a little over doubling its money.
Yep.
Domestically, 19.
Yeah, you're really close, Tasha. 19.9 million.
Wow.
This movie.
So they barely made anything on the back end. Wow.
This movie was considered like an absolute flop and disaster.
Oh, wow.
The producers attribute the film's disappointing box office performance to audience desires for more benign interpretations of an alien presence on the Earth as a result of Steven Spielberg's E.T., which was released several weeks prior. So like E.T. comes out eating Reese Pieces, and then this comes out like a month later.
That's insane.
Too much.
They're not even that. Yeah. You go from something cute to something not even in that realm. So
this is also what an alien can be.
Yeah.
Mom, Kurt Russell's fucking around. But I actually have it's a kind of a long little thing, but it's an interview with John Carpenter about the reception of this film and everything. So according to John Carpenter, he takes all of his failed movies pretty hard, but the film's initial negative reception disappointed him the most. Not only was it a box office bomb, but critics panned its gory effects, tone, and characters. Vincent Canby called it too phony looking to be disgusting. It qualifies only as instant junk. And David Kerr wrote that it was hard to tell who's being attacked and hard to care. Likewise, Roger Ebert was disappointed by the superficial characterizations and the implausible behavior, and dismissed the film as nothing more than an Alien knockoff. Carpenter was Carpenter was particularly upset with Christian Nyby, the director of the original The Thing from Another World that this is based on, publicly denouncing Carpenter's vision, saying, "If you want blood, go to a slaughterhouse. All in all, it's a terrific commercial for J&B Scotch." In response to the commercial bombing of the film, the studio canceled the multi-picture deal they had with Carpenter, who noted that his career would have been different if the film had been successful. Not surprisingly, he was extremely relieved when the film enjoyed a rich cult success following its in-home release, along with its critical reevaluation it received.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, if it's coming out in that 82 and with what this movie entails, I can see where it's kind of hard to swallow, because it's definitely different. Especially what did he come out with before this?
He did Halloween. He did The Fog. And
that was prior to this?
And he did Escape from New York. So I think that's like 78, 80, and 81, I think, are the...
Okay. Yeah, so he's the tone of all of those definitely is not the same as this one. So
yeah, but like the thing that blows my mind is when people are like shitting on it for being gory or shitting on it for being an Alien knockoff. It's like, I do not see the Alien knockoff at all.
No,
I don't either.
Only in the comparison of it's a sci-fi horror film,
right?
And then the gory aspect and stuff. It's like the Friday the 13th films that were coming out year after year and after year were the like those are the films that like the MPAA and stuff were just like losing their fucking mind about. Like, like yes, this movie's gory, and stuff, but I just don't. I personally, I just don't see it being like, oh, it's just gore, it's just this, because I think it's beautifully shot and it's like amazingly acted. But that's just me. But it has been reevaluated and people put this like way the fuck up there.
Yeah. Well, when you told me originally when we were watching it the first time that it was a John Carpenter movie, like my only like notation, like what I've seen of him before was his vampires movie, and that movie rules. And so I was like, wasn't sure going into this if that was going to be anywhere in the same realm. And I would say that movie is extremely gory too. So, but it still has a good plot. It still had a good storyline, like all of those things. But he likes to push the envelope, and that's what he did.
Yeah, he does. I find that hilarious that it's like, so have you seen any John Carpenter films? And the only one prior was that you're like, I've seen John Carpenter's vampires, and I'm like, you haven't seen Halloween? You're like, I don't think I've seen the original one. And I'm like, how? No. Of all of the movies that he made, that's the one you saw with Billy Baldwin and James Woods.
Yeah, I know, but it was because I have like this really like love for vampires, and so I went through a portion of my life where I was like, I'm watching everything I can get my hands on. Yeah, that movie right there.
We have it right here on VHS.
John Carpenter's Vampire. Yeah, and I was like, I want to try this movie, and I did, and it was good.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I can't go to bat for every John Carpenter film and stuff, but when he hits it out of the park for me, he really hits it out of the park for me. So.
Yeah.
But Tasha, do you want to go ahead and give us that overview before we really start getting into this thing?
Yep. The Thing is a 1982 American science fiction horror film directed by John Carpenter from a screenplay by Bill Lancaster, based on a 1938 John W. Campbell Jr. novella, Who Goes There? It tells the story of a group of American researchers in Antarctica who encounter the eponymous Thing, an extraterrestrial life form that assimilates, then imitates other organisms. The group is overcome by paranoia and conflict as they learn that they can no longer trust each other and that any of them could be the Thing.
Bum, bum, bum.
I like that about this movie because they don't put a name to anything. It's the Thing. The Thing. That's why it's named what it's named, and that's what the big bad in this movie is. It's the Thing, and I love that because it doesn't. It could be anything, literally.
Yeah, it literally is just cells. Like that's what it is. It just cells, because when we get into it, like it's just a thing.
Yep, I like that a lot.
But let's see here. One thing before we throw up the spoiler warning and everything is I love the tagline for this movie that when it came out, and it's super fitting for this. I'll drop this and then we'll throw up the spoiler warning and get those reviews and stuff. But if you haven't seen this movie, check it out. The tagline is "Man is the warmest place to hide."
Ooh,
which I fucking love
like that. Yeah. That's cool. It sounds almost like sweet, you know, but so menacing.
Oh yeah.
But it's it's definitely not
like
sweet.
there's something nice about it.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah.
You know. Oh, it's just a little thing. It's just a little guy. Look at a little puppy.
Oh. God.
And with that, we're gonna throw up that spoiler warning. If you haven't seen The Thing, it basically you got to get a physical copy right now or find it on Shudder. Most other places you got to rent it and stuff.
Yep.
If you like sci-fi and you like horror and you haven't seen The Thing, you're doing yourself a disservice. I personally think it holds up, but we'll find out what the ladies think after the review. So spoiler warning, spoiler warning, spoiler warning. All right.
So if you want to be a part of our club, you can find us at facebook.com/podofthedead or else on Instagram at pod_of_the_dead or on TikTok at Pod of the Dead. If you want to email us any questions, any complaints, or movie recommendations, you can email us at podofthedead666@gmail.com.
Let's start with that disgusting, unexcusable 1 out of 10.
Okay, fine. These are always so entertaining. So, all right. It's not very long. So, it's not fast. It's not clever. It's not scary. It's not horror.
Fuck you.
Also spelled it's wrong a lot in this. The Thing is the most overrated movie of all time. It cannot be compared to Alien 1979 at any means. Okay. It is slow. It's a slow, boring story with really bad special effects. I know it was made in 1982, but Alien is even older with much better special effects. I watched this movie once when I was a kid, and it didn't give me chills or any kind of horror vibe. It was just boring. So I watched it again in 2023. And now I am pretty sure it was a waste of my time. I don't understand why people praise movies like this, calling them classics. Probably it was okay in 1982 when it was released. But just be realistic. Now this movie is pure garbage. There's much better movies than this. Please listen. Don't waste your time.
Fuck you.
So was this an Alien, like literally the only sci-fi movie out over the past years?
It's no, there were other ones.
So
and
why
stuff,
does it
but
keep
like
getting compared to that?
I don't know. That makes no sense. It's not even the same fucking realm.
Yeah, like it's because it was the, like, I'm trying to think, between 79 and 82, I can't really think of another big, quote unquote, big budget sci-fi horror film. Sci-fi horror was not like what it is now, where you get like all sorts of different kinds. Like on the last Gaiden episode, we really touched on that. Like Alien blew the doors off of it.
Okay.
Like prior to that and stuff, you had like Frankenstein and Godzilla and stuff like that, and there was like some other, like you had The Fly and you had The Thing from Another Planet in the 50s, but a lot of it was just like, oh no, there's something from outer space, we must fight it, and just like it was like, oh, it's scary, a thing from another dimension. But like when Alien came out, it was like literally the tagline for that one is, in space nobody can hear you scream. It is literally like, we're gonna make this fucking horrifying. So that comes out, is hugely successful and stuff, and then this comes out and like it just hit at the wrong time. I don't understand what the audiences wanted, but nowadays and stuff, like if you look at the IMDb rating on this and stuff, like I'll still compare it to Alien, which everyone seems to want to do, which doesn't make sense to me. Alien is like an 8.5 and this is an 8.2. So if you want to look at IMDb's ratings and stuff like that, all of these people trashing on it in the past and stuff, like they said, the reevaluation as it got like more eyes on it and stuff, and like people appreciated it, it definitely found its market.
Gotcha. But what I find really strange about this, okay, is so this is an Alien movie, but it's not anything close to Aliens. This takes place in like Antarctica, and it's on Earth, and it's not even in the same realm of this even type of like alien species things that you're looking at. And then you look at like the special effects and stuff; they're also different. Mm-hmm. And this definitely in a different type of gore, more creaturey, weird shapes and stuff that you're getting. We've watched movies with similar like this. Like I would attribute this movie to having similar creature looks as like the Evil Dead 2 that we watched. Okay. I think it's very similar in the way that it looks that way. But then so they shit on it. But yet, and I'm going to bring this up because I bring this up every fucking episode. I swear to God, I'm never going to let it go.
It's better than The Exorcist.
Yeah, but it is. But if you look at like that movie, The Exorcist came out, it's really long. It had all these extra like special effects and stuff too, right? They were grotesque. They were all of these things. She's masturbating with the crucifix. Like all this stuff's happening. And that was somehow like amazing, top notch, that's praise it be because of this movie. But yet this movie comes out, what, 10 years later, maybe? And this is what we're giving it. It just doesn't make any sense to me, I guess. I'm just very confused as to why that movie was like high praise and this one was shit on when released.
It really seems like the critics at the time had an axe to grind or something, because
something, and it's
it
weird.
doesn't make sense. Like for it, like, and you can tell, especially back then and stuff, critics definitely had sway on people going and seeing a movie, because you didn't have the internet, you didn't have all that stuff. So the only way you would ever actually get like some feet on the ground, like reporting and stuff, is like from Roger Ebert and stuff like that, who got to see it beforehand, and then them just being like, it's the fucking worst thing ever. Even if you were interested in it and you hear that, you're like, maybe I won't go. And that's why a film like this bombs in the box office. It just doesn't do well until it goes home. And then you've got all the kids and all the people that couldn't have gotten into the theater just walking into the mom and pop like video rental places. This is 100% what happened to me. And you just see that fucking cover and you're like, what the fuck is this? And you check it out and you are completely and forever like ruined.
Yeah. Well, do you guys remember when we were kids that when movies would come out, it would be like Siskel and Ebert give this movie, and then 2 thumbs up, 1 thumbs up, whatever it is, or they would blow it apart. And then that was taken like what, for whatever reason, was those two. Though, yeah, it was like extensively so. Like it was in the newspaper. Like if you were getting on there and you were going to look at like the movie times, and it was like, you have movies on Friday through the next Friday these times, and then somewhere in that area would be like, this, like when the new movie came out, it would be like Siskel and Ebert give this movie 2 thumbs up. And I was like, that's how you decided if you were going to see something.
They had their own TV show, like it was like on NBC or some shit like that, and it was on, and they would just sit there and review movies and just completely rip apart. Like, this is the whole thing. Like, film critics, because film is like, ooh, whatever, hates fucking horror. Like, legitimately hates horror and stuff like that. So it's one of those things that like you almost have to measure horror against horror, because if you look at like ratings of like Gladiator, for instance, like, oh, it's so beautiful, so great, blah blah blah, what an amazing director. It's like, same guy that fucking made Alien, guys. Like that's Ridley Scott. He fucking made that and everything. So John Carpenter is the same way. Like, people like want to suck his dick about fucking Halloween, like basically when he made that and stuff, but then does this, which is wildly more imaginative and stuff like that, and it's just like, ugh, it's too gross.
True, it's way more entertaining.
Yeah, like, I'm not the biggest slasher fan or anything. I'll give him his flowers for Halloween and stuff like that, but at the same time, it's not original in the sense of Black Christmas came out before that, which was like the first slasher, and then before that you had the Giallo films in Italy, which started that. So it's a lot of like what information you had at the time and everything, and what your tastes are, and these people had different tastes from what like the market would actually want, and they just decided that their job was to shit on it. And well, just like we're watching Ted Lasso, Tasha.
Yes, you are.
And just,
so good.
Just like what's the guy that's writing the book? What's his name? The guy that's he's from The Independent.
Trent.
Yeah.
No,
but Trent
yeah.
something. Yeah. But when him and Roy are talking, like spoilers for Ted Lasso if you haven't seen it.
Who'd have thought?
And then I swear we'll start talking about the thing. But he talks about like, Roy like has always held this grudge against Trent because Trent wrote a very scathing critique of Roy as a soccer player and stuff like that, and he held it
when he was 17.
When he was 17 and stuff. He said it ruined him and like it made him really mad and all this stuff. And Trent said, he's like, I was trying to be edgy, I was trying to make a name for myself. And that's the problem with a lot of these critics and stuff like that, is they're trying to make a name for themselves by trying to be really like shocking and stuff like that. And if Ted Lasso doesn't work for you, it's the same thing with like ESPN with Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bailiff.
Yeah,
it's just let's be loud, let's be shocking, and that's what people will be talking about. It's not actually about it being an actual critique. It's just about being an asshole.
It's more of the performance of it. That's what people are expecting, so they'll give it.
So
yeah.
Anyway,
So are you
off of
liking
this-
Ted Lasso?
It's not bad.
Is it growing
Yes,
on you,
she-
Nick?
I like it a lot.
She likes it more than I do.
Yeah.
I give it. I'm like in the 6.5 range.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it's.
Yeah,
I mean,
I like it a lot. We're almost done with it. We're on season 3, so
we'll probably finish it by tomorrow.
yeah. He doesn't like the main lady in this, so he doesn't like.
You don't like
the owner.
Rebecca?
No.
Oh,
No.
she's amazing. Okay. Anyway,
I
know.
kind
I
of
feel like
surprised you don't like her.
I was telling Steph over dinner, I feel like a sexist about this show because I actually don't like any of the women in it.
Keely is awesome too.
He
But,
does
all
not.
right, whatever.
I'm sorry. I can't help it.
All right, let's get back
I got
to
a
the
man
movie.
crush. I got a man crush on Roy. I'm sorry.
He's a very
All right.
handsome man.
All right, so let's hear that. Let's hear the gospel.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, let's hear the gospel of that 10 out of 10.
Yep.
All right. Intelligent splatter is how it starts. This is another one of those films that I remember staying up late to watch on TV, scaring the crap out of myself, out of my impressionable 12-year-old self or so, and dooming myself thereafter to a life of horror movie obsession. This is a great movie, all caps, and stands as living proof that there were indeed realistic effects before CGI. The gore
True.
effects here are absolutely amazing and messily realistic. I could have done without the dog's head splitting open like a banana peel, but that's the animal lover in me being picky. Kill all the humans you want, but leave the kitties and puppies alone.
I told Steph when that happened, God, I wish I was sitting by Tasha when that happened because like I've seen it a million times and I think it's amazing, but I could see you just being like, oh no.
You would appreciate all the faces I made for long extended periods of time. Sanity and reason disintegrate rapidly as one by one the humans are taken over by a shape-shifting alien. The power of this film lies in its paranoia, and although I liked the original version, I prefer this one. The real threat lies within and is scarier for the fact that it cannot be seen or easily detected. When it is forced out of hiding, its wrath is huge and the results are horrific. This is one of Carpenter's best films, right there with The Fog and Halloween. All of the actors give strong, realistic performances, and the special effects are so powerful that they stand as their own main character. The film has something for any lover of the horror genre. Don't miss it.
I wrote that.
Yeah.
Might as well have.
Yeah, that's a good review of it. I agree. It's a creature feature.
Right, that's a really good way to put it.
And
Mhm.
I did not find for me realistically when I first saw this movie and I saw it now, I did not find this movie scary at all. But I guess if you're a 12-year-old kid watching it, you probably would be. But as an adult, I don't find this scary at all. I do find it interesting and creepy and very weird. And my mouth kind of goes, what the fuck is like dropping and going, what the fuck is going on right now when certain aspects happen in this. But it is a hot mess of like, not in the sense of being bad, but like they are panicking. And it's just one big movie of panic, essentially.
Yeah, this movie, like, I saw it probably right in that 10-12 range, like somewhere between Sydney and Wesley's age. And
Okay.
When that dog's head fucking splits open like a banana peel and its skull falls out
Yeah.
and tongues are whipping and everything, I think chemically I was changed forever from that point forward. Because it was like I'd seen horror stuff before, but I'd seen Alien prior to that. I had never seen anything that fucking weird and like indescribably gross.
Yeah.
And like just what the fuck is going on? And I think what really makes this movie like scary and stuff is if you just don't know what's fucking going on and everything. I think that's the biggest thing. Like it's not scary at all to me, like now, like as an adult, or even probably on the second watch or anything like that. But it's gross. It's beautiful though. Its beauty lies in its grotesqueness. Like the things that they're able to pull off in this film And it's not just blood splatter. Like, it's very interesting for the most part, especially once we get there. A specific spider head scene.
Dude. I will say at the beginning, it took me a bit to get into it.
Okay.
Because, and I think that goes back to, it was an 80s film. So it was quieter. It was pretty slow for the beginning. But like you said, you don't really know what's going on. So if that's the case throughout the whole movie, then I think I was spot on. Because I would go through either like being kind of bored and checked out on one end to like just disgusted and jaw dropped going, what is happening? And then all that would stop, and then I would kind of lull back out and be like, okay, let's get back to the interesting part.
Yeah.
Well, I told Nick when we were watching it, I'm like, the thing that I argue with this movie the most is there are parts that are really slow to me. And he's like, how is that possible? He's like, it's not slow at all. It's just one thing after the next. And I was like, it's really not, though. Like some of the scenes that, like with the helicopter flying, or they're doing something outside, instead of it just being that part, they're building you into certain things. And they could cut at least half of each of those scenes out. Even if they're 30-second scenes, they could take them down to 15 seconds and still get the exact same interesting moment that we need to see, like a helicopter landing or whatever they're doing. We don't need a million shots, even though they're beautiful in their own weird fucked up way, of Kurt Russell and his fucked up hat. But they just really like to show us that for extended periods of time.
Well, Kurt Russell must have gotten like he must have gotten a specific contract for that hat, and that hat had to have so much screen time.
My God, we were watching it this time and I was laughing so hard because I was like, Nick said he kind of looks like Yosemite Sam, and I said he kind of does, and so I'm just like laughing, looking at him walking in the like out in the snow, and he's just looking fucking ridiculous in this hat. Like, who decides they're gonna fly helicopter in that hat? I don't know, but
I had no idea.
Helicopter flying hat.
I had no idea how attractive young Kurt Russell was.
Oh yeah,
Kurt
Russell is a sexy man.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. And like I love this when the movie starts out and you're like, what the hell is this dog?
Yeah.
Like you don't know when you first see this movie. You're like, okay, so we got somebody helicopter flying, you got a dog walking, it's a beautiful dog. You're like, what's going on? These guys are living in some frozen tundra doing some kind of sciencey shit, and they're drinking lots of alcohol, and like you're just following into the storyline. And when I first watched this movie, I was like, I don't know if this is for me. This is kind of slow. This is kind of dumb. And so then you got like these fucking men shooting a dog from the fucking sky, and you're like, why are you shooting the dog? And then they randomly gets down, and then he shoots a guy in the knee, still shooting at the dog. And then this guy dies. Like, it's this weird opening of like some movies we watch and they have these really captivating opens. Like The Void was one of them. It was like jaw-dropping open. Scream does that too. And this movie just kind of had me going, what?
Yeah, like the helicopter didn't look real flying. And then
it is a real helicopter.
For whatever reason, it didn't look it. And I was like, okay, here we go. 80s movie. Awesome. This is what I get.
Yeah. But then and then you get the guy that's like the chef roller skating through the fucking place. Then it kind of just picks up after that. But it's just like I said, it's a hot mess because they're paranoid and freaking out through the whole movie, and it's like you can't tell which is which or what's going to happen next, and you have to pay really close attention, because the first time I watched it I was a lot more confused than I was this time, because I was like, okay, well, this doesn't make any sense. And then the dog scene is like the first opening introduction into this crazy town, and that was a way to really bring you into the monster.
Yeah, they didn't let you guess very much. That's
no.
And I think that's where it kind of like it lays, and it's personally, you guys aren't probably going to agree with me, but that's where its genius lies. It like starts off and it's just like, what the fuck is going on? Why are they chasing these people? What the fuck? And then it's just like, Kurt Russell playing some chess with a computer and getting pissed at it, all this kind of slice of life stuff. And then you got the guy like that's taking care of the dog's just walking around and everything, and you're just like, yeah, that was fucking weird, that's crazy. Hey, can you put this dog in with the other ones? Yeah, sure, what's up? Puts them away, walks away, and then the fucking and you could tell there's something wrong with that dog as soon as it sits down in that cage and it's just staring at the wall. You're like, what the fuck's going on here? walks away, and that motherfucker starts rattling like a rattlesnake, and its fucking head splits open, and the tentacles come out.
So many
and you're like,
tentacles.
fucking
Yes.
play ball, and it's just wet and whipping and shooting shit everywhere, and it's just like, Giles, get the fucking flamethrower. Like, we gotta fucking deal with this shit. And it's just like, now.
It grows arms and goes through the ceiling.
Yeah.
What?
Well, because it's already fucking attacked people at the other base and stuff. Like,
it's so
they
weird.
even say, like, later on that Wilford Brimley's character in his notes and stuff is like, this thing has traveled the stars, could have possibly assimilated with thousands of other beings. There's no telling what it could be or could not be and stuff. So like, that's why it's like spider legs, fucking anything.
Why not?
Anything, just fucking like a flower like thing coming out of its head. So fucking horrific. It's so perfect for what I like.
When I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, this is totally like, had I not known this was one of your favorites, right there would have sealed it. Like, of course you like this movie.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Anything with like very practical effects and that are
tentacles
like
doing this,
over the top.
That's it's all make
crazy ass double-headed, grotesque, weird faces. Like that's Nick's
a
thing,
a man can only get so erect. So, like,
that's nice, honey.
The creepiest part of this whole movie for me, though, it's actually in that scene, like when everything's going fucking wild the first time they see it and everything. You just see this monstrosity kind of like building out and everything, and you see this one eyeball, the eye open and shit. It's still like, that is still creepy as fuck to me, because it's so amorphous. Like, it has no form. There's just like this mouth over here, this eye over here, these like weird, like they look like dog paws, but they're like massive. It's so fucking creepy.
Yeah, and then it's like spitting goo at the dogs, like, and I'm like, what the fuck? And the other dog's like, get me out of here. And it, like, the dogs in themselves, like, I felt like really big empathy for them, because they're like stuck in the situation, and
it's super sad.
It's really sad, and they're like throwing you into this fucking movie, and it's that's the crazy way to start a movie. Like, here, let's kill a bunch of dogs and let's let you watch it. Like,
your first death scene is 3 dogs, I think.
Yeah.
Because the one gets wrapped up and is like turning green and pink and stuff. The other one is dead, and then the other one gets shot. The other 2 run off. And it is very rough to see. But it's one of those things where I don't think it's done for shock value in that sense. It's very like, this is how something would like disguise itself and get in and like try to assimilate with everything, like, and it wouldn't be nice about shit. Like, it literally would just take over.
Well, the thing about this, and this is the only part that I thought was strange, is like the only time it really comes out and becomes problematic, when it's getting into like, it's basically needing a host, right? Is when it's feeling threatened. Okay, so that's what I'm pulling from it, from my perspective. So why is going into a cage with other dogs threatening enough to then create this big thing? Wouldn't it have been smarter to then bite the other dogs? And like, I'm just thinking more on the logical side, to then turn more of them into him, or like to consume more of them in a less grotesque manner, because then it's just, that was really weird, because I don't feel like he was actually.
I think that's what it's doing. I think it's like going to eat it to then replicate it is kind of how it works in my head and stuff. It's not like it touches you and it turns you. It like
consumes
embodies you.
Yeah.
Yep. And then like basically shits out a version of you. But now you're completely assimilated within it. So it needed to consume these dogs to then put out new versions of those dogs that are all just like it.
And you mentioned them being threatened.
That doesn't make sense.
You mentioned them being threatened. Maybe it's because one of the dogs in that kennel started growling at the alien.
Well, yeah, it
dog.
starts.
So maybe it did feel threatened.
It's just sitting there at first before it, like, it's just kind of sitting there, and a few of the dogs start growling. And once it starts growling, that's when the tentacles come out. So they, like, dogs know, you know, they can like tell, like, their senses are different than ours and stuff, and they're like sitting there. Initially when it comes in, they're all laying down. It gets in there and stuff, and they like start sitting up, like looking at it. They're like, they can tell it's like, this isn't right. And they start getting territorial, which then the Thing is just like, nope, fuck you guys. You're gonna blow my cover. Well, then I'm gonna fucking change you guys. So.
Well, yeah, the thing that's strange about this movie is the rule. You don't really know the rules. I mean, you kind of know the rules, but you don't really know the rules. In most movies that are horror movies or otherwise, they have rules that you're following that within their realm of scope. And this one kind of has like, I don't know what just happened. Is a little weird, I guess. But I
think that's pretty common with sci-fi, though. Like, you don't have rules, and that's the glory of sci-fi. I'm thinking of like Doctor Who. If you ever watch that, they can be so disjointed and so out there, but it's sci-fi. So there's no one to say that it can't be that. There's no logic. There's no, physics. It's what it is.
We try to make sense of it with our laws and our rules and our physics and everything. But at the end of the day, we don't understand how this even fucking works.
Right.
Like they're trying to understand it. Like when they go to the Norwegian camp and they fucking find the stuff and they're like cutting it apart and they find out like it's got a normal set of organs and all this stuff, and they're really trying to understand it, but at the same time they just can't. There's like it at the best of their knowledge, it's like this thing takes on the forms of other things. That's all they know. They don't know how long it takes. They don't know if it actually has to ingest you, because it's even implied through notes and stuff that it's like contaminated food could possibly be just enough. Like it gets to the point where all it takes is a cell to.
It's kind of treated like a virus, realistically, in the sense like the way that it gets inside of you, like it gets in you by breathing, like mist, probably could happen, and you could get it in your body somehow, but you don't really know. Like, and that, I guess that's the weird part about this movie, and that's what makes it so crazy, because they don't know. We're only knowing what they know. Correct. Essentially, and that ain't a whole lot of nothing, and they're all just losing their fucking minds and shooting and cut. Like the amount of fire in this movie is insane. So what out of all the creature features we have, there's multiple different ones. Which one did you guys like the most or find the most interesting or the most shocking, I guess?
What was my favorite like creature design in this?
Yeah, which one, like which scene with the creatures where you're like, oh shit, or whatever?
Mine is the head spite, like that whole part, because the sounds in this movie are so apparent, that doesn't help. So with the one, I think he's cut open at that point, but there's an infected guy on the table.
Yeah, he's dead.
Catch him on. Okay, he's just dead. They catch him on fire. The worst part, even before the spider head, is the head bending backwards off of the table and falling. To me, that part is worse than it turning and growing legs.
Yeah, that is like the scene, because like it's one thing after another after another. So like this is after McCready is like they think he's the Thing and stuff, so he's locked out and he gets in. They attack him. He knocks over one of the guys, and the guy just like stops breathing and dies. So they're like trying to start him up with a defibrillator. And on the second time he goes to do it, his chest fucking opens up and it's got teeth.
Yeah.
Chomps the dude.
And it bites his arms.
That was just ridiculous.
I love it.
It's so ridiculous.
Bites his fucking arms off. Tip of the hat to Carpenter and company, though. The guy that is... Okay, so the guy that is playing the doctor at that point and the guy that's like standing there with the stumped arms going, are actually two different guys. The guy with the stump arms is wearing a mask that looks like the other guy, because the other guy is actually a double amputee. So they actually hired a double amputee guy to play that spot and everything. Cool. So yeah, then they're like, oh god, it's the Thing, kill it with fire, fucking spraying it with napalm, and then the fucking it's showing that like it's not one thing. Yeah. Every little bit of this is its own separate entity. Every cell. So then the head is trying to escape the fire. All the little tendony, like popping glurble
Too many tendons. There are not that many tendons in your neck.
Not in a human body, but in their version of it, they're all green and they look like bubbly balloons popping and stuff.
So gross.
and then its head falls. It shoots a tentacle out of its mouth, wraps to a chair, pulls itself up, and then my favorite thing of it, it's not scary. It's not even scary. It's so fucking funny because it sprouts its spider legs. You're like, gross.
Yeah.
2 fucking eye stalks
Eyeball
come off the top of it,
Yes.
and that
My God.
motherfucker is just leaning out, looking at them from under the table, and it's like, all right, it looks like they're kind of busy with that's going on. Starts scuttling away, and the guy just like catches it out of the corner of his eye, and he's like, you gotta be fucking kidding. And then it's just like standing there in the door like it got fucking caught coming into the house too late at night. They're like, fucking light its ass up.
You got me. At that
And then it
point,
starts dancing in the fire.
at that point,
And the head is
Yeah.
upside down.
Yeah.
I thought Russell Crowe's
so
character,
good.
I thought McCready was in on
You
it.
mean Kurt Russell?
Who did I say?
Russell Crowe.
Oh, that takes a different,
Yeah, Russell
completely different
Crowe's in this.
direction.
Are you not entertained?
At that point, I thought McCready was a part of it because how he he was waiting for them to, I think, extinguish the whole body. So at that point, he was like, wait. And that's when the head like made its getaway. So I was like, oh, is he covering for this thing? What's happening? That wasn't the case.
God, the fucking legs just.
Yeah. Yeah, the rest of it was just absurd, but the tilting of the head and the sound of it plopping and ugh.
How about you, Steph? What's your favorite creature design for the movie?
I would say that's probably one of them. I think all of them are unique. The only one I was a little disappointed in was the last one. Because see, at when we watched the end a year or so ago, I didn't pay attention to it as closely. And so when I was watching it this time, I was trying to pay more attention, but you really don't get a whole long scene with it. It's just a very short blip. And I thought it was going to end up being a little bit more. So I was a little disappointed. It was large and in charge and weird looking, but like the other ones definitely had more presence in that sense, and the way that it interacted with the characters in the movie. So, yeah, I would say that one was funny because, I mean, a head upside down with legs is definitely messed up. And I was just waiting for the chest cavity to open with the teeth because I was like, I know this happens. When is this happening? And then I was like, oh, there we go.
Did you know it would have
No, but I was like, this is fucking weird. Like that, it does look cheesy, don't get me wrong, but it's just so stupid in a sense. Like, I don't know. It was weird. But I really like the scene where they're all tied to a chair. And he is, chest testing their blood with, basically heated up like wire or whatever to see. Wire. And that was really smart. And I loved that because it proved who was actually, had an alien in them and who didn't, and who had the thing in them. And I love where it's like they get in and they get the guy's blood and you don't think it's going to be him. You think it's going to be somebody else. And they dip it in and then his whole body just starts having those weird tentacle things coming out of it. And then it gets bigger and bigger and he's still attached to the guys in the chairs and they're like, let us go. Like they're trying to get free. And it was sad because one of the guys ended up dying during that scene too.
Windows gets got.
Yeah, and that was sad. But like, because he was kind of an interesting character in this, but yeah, I would say that was probably, in terms of like intensity, for me, that was the most intense because like the defibrillator part was cool, but that part was just like, it just kept getting bigger.
Yeah, the blood test scene is definitely probably the most tense scene in the movie because it's just one after another. And it even gets to the point where, they test the blood of a guy that Kurt Russell, McCready's character, shoots just previously because he was going to attack him. And then Childs is like, so he wasn't one. That makes you a murderer. And you're just like, oh shit, man, like this is going south. And then, can't remember his name, but the one dude starts turning everything. And I feel bad for Windows, but at the same time, it is so comically over the top. Yeah. Like the dude's head splits in half and just crunches down on fucking Windows' head and then just starts swinging him all over the fucking place. And like you can see him in the background while they're trying to do this, like start up their fucking flamethrowers and stuff, and you just still keep seeing him flop around all over the place. And
then he gets like spat out.
Yep. And then they come back after they deal with that guy because he bursts out Kool-Aid Man style out the wall, fucking torch him down. They come back in and Windows is starting to make those like weird like noises. They're like, we gotta fucking torch us now too. And it's just it is a very bleak film. Yeah. Like
It really is.
by the end of this film, when we'll talk about it once we get there and stuff, like it's there. There's no hope in this movie.
Yeah.
No.
It basically,
And that's okay though.
Yeah.
I think that's okay for this.
oh yeah, like
It's one thing I like about it. Yeah.
That's where a lot of my favorite horror films lie. Is like I'm not a big fan of the happy ending in a horror film.
Right.
Like sometimes it works, you know, like Crimson Peak, for instance. Like it has a quote unquote happy ending. You know, she survives and stuff, and that works out in that story. But
well, and the Scream movies are like that too. Some people love, some people don't,
Yeah.
but you still get your main person.
correct. But like not every, like I remember, you know, you mentioned The Mist, Tasha.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it has a shockingly bleak ending.
Yes.
And that's why I love that movie as much as I do. And then this one has an ending that you're not exactly sure which way, if it's bad, worse, or even worse.
Mm-hmm.
So
Great.
but
Yeah.
a lot of this film was shot, some of it was shot in Juneau, Alaska and stuff like that. Then a lot of it was actually shot on sound stages that they refrigerated to the point where it was 40 degrees. And some of those things, Kurt Russell would actually take a drag off of a cigarette before doing his lines and stuff to help get more breathiness into it and
Okay.
everything. But it's crazy. Like the fact like that they were able to pull this film off the way that they did. The special effects director, his name's Rob Botton. And he was only 22 years old when he started this project.
Wow.
So this was like damn near a fucking kid when
Yeah.
it comes to like Hollywood. And this movie, it's so good.
I thought the special effects were really, really cool. Like
Yeah.
over the
Like, that's
top and probably a tad bit too long in those scenes, but they went for it, and yeah, I liked it.
Oh yeah, like of its $15 million budget, 1.5 million of that went to special effects.
Honestly, thought it would be
Like-
more than
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
I did too. If they're gonna spend that kind of money,
Because there's
yeah.
so
They cut-
much, like all of those ripping apart scenes and all of those tentacles, all of that.
Yep.
Like it's not just like one or two scenes; they're long, and there's quite a few of them.
Well,
Mhm.
and the way to eat up or save some money in their budget and stuff, I think they saved like $250,000 by doing this. By the end of the film, they legitimately just blow the whole fucking camp up and everything.
Yeah.
And that blown out camp is like they actually did that. You know, it was the 80s. They're gonna just blow the fuck out of everything. They actually ended up using that blown out set for the Norwegian camp that you see earlier in the film.
Oh, cool.
That's the same camp. It's just after they blew it the fuck up and everything.
Okay.
So yeah, like and then something else I pointed out to Steph and stuff, because she was like, oh, see, those are some bad special effects, when it was showing like the big alien spacecraft like in the ice and stuff like that. And I was like, well, actually, or I think she said CGI, and I was like, actually, it wasn't CGI. Those are matte paintings. Like that's a massive
Oh.
matte painting that they do. Like that's something they used to do a lot in the 80s. I didn't know that until a handful of years ago, that a lot of that stuff that's just like it's too big. You can tell it's not real, but like our brains and stuff are always like, oh, that's just computers,
Right.
you know, because of us, how we grew up. It's like, no, old
Mhm.
style was a big fucking matte painting, and they would basically superimpose like film over film.
Yeah.
So like they're walking, and then they just take that film and pop it over top this massive fucking painting and everything, and that's how you get those insanely large shots.
I saw that for like the original Star Wars, and how it was,
Yes.
just like screen on screen, layering all of these different backgrounds. And like people painted those, like you said, like those are
Yep.
somebody actually had the job of creating that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I can't believe that. Like, because like they don't strike you as paintings. They're too real. It's like that uncanny valley. They're too real to be a painting in my brain, but they're not real enough to be real. So like there's
So
this
what is it?
disconnect when you see it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. And they're too still. I think that's the biggest
Mm.
argument with it. Like when you see it, there's no
Mm.
movement, or like it's too still. So when I'm looking at it and they're like on like the cliff here, and that looks realistic, and then you look down and then you see like the ice and all this, there's no movement. So I think that for me, that's where I'm just like, that's not real. That's like CGI, or they did something here where they green screened it or something that just doesn't quite hit the mark. But I give it a pass in this because it was made in 1982. Now, if it was made today and they had that stuff, I'd be like, dude, what are you doing? But yeah, I like I said, I like the movie. I thought it was interesting, and it is a bleak movie. It was a lot of people just hating on each other, trying to figure out who's the bad guy.
Well, yeah, because like the big thing is like Kurt Russell gets to a point where he's just like, I'm making this recording because in case nobody's alive, I want there to be a firsthand account and stuff. And he's just talking about, we're tired, we don't know who to trust. He's like, even gets to the point where he's like, trust is a hard thing to come by these days. And it's like, that's so fucking like insane, considering like you see how they are at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
They're this scientific expedition team doing God knows what. They're all smoking weed and drinking scotch the whole fucking time. I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Literally.
I just want that job, God damn it.
And watching taped recordings of game shows.
Game shows. Yeah, fuck yeah, man. Listening to Stevie Wonder in the kitchen. Yeah. I'm down for this. But yeah, shit starts going sideways, and instantly, like, the thing that makes the thing great is not necessarily just the special effects. Special effects are fucking amazing, but it's paranoia that it sets up between its characters is what takes this from being like an 80s horror film in my book to a classic, like top 10 movie, like not just horror but movie in my book. So
yeah, it was
I didn't
I don't have any more else to add other than the ending was good. I like that it was open-ended. It was a create your own decision on what you think is happening afterwards. So I liked that. It didn't clean it up one way or the other. So you had to kind of infer whatever you wanted to infer.
Well, and this is one of those movies too, the more you watch it, the more you pick up, because like how it's talked about, like, where they're thinking about not allowing other people to fix their meals and stuff like that, right? Like it could possibly transfer that way. And then watch this movie with that in mind, and how many times people are drinking from a bottle and handing it to another person and stuff like that. And all those little things, you just start building up these like, oh, is that where this happened? Oh, is that when this person got changed? Oh, wait, hold on. That's why I love this movie, because I've watched, I can't say 100 times, but I've watched this movie a fuck ton, easily 50 times. And there's still times where it's like, is this the time? Is he human right yet? Has he been changed? Like, hold on. How many of them are it right now? How many are now? Like all that kind of stuff. That's what I love about this movie. But
and the end of the movie is the same way though. You're sitting there and you're like, are they or aren't they?
Yeah.
You have no idea.
Yeah, it gets to the point where Kurt Russell blows the fuck out of the camp. He goes and sits like in a little like burnout kind of shack, and he's beat the fuck up. He's got a bottle of scotch. Now, this is something I'll talk about in a second. He's got a bottle of scotch sitting there, and Child shows up, and he's like, where were you, Childs? And he's like, I thought I saw Wilford Brimley running out and everything. Fucked up all this shit and everything. Comes and sits down, and they're both like, if you're one, there's not much fight I can put up or anything. It's like, yeah, if you're one, blah blah blah. And they're just kind of hanging out there, and he's like, what do you want to do? And he's like, I don't know, maybe we'll just sit here and wait for a while. And then Kurt Russell gives Childs the scotch. Childs takes a drink. Kurt Russell smiles, and the film ends. There's multiple different ways that this can go. Now here's the thing. Okay, so if Kurt Russell is the thing, did he transfer what from drinking to Childs? Secondly, is that a bottle of scotch? Because for the last 20 minutes of this film, MacReady is throwing Molotov cocktails in scotch bottles the whole time. Is that a Molotov cocktail? And MacReady's human and knows that that's kerosene, gives it to Childs. Childs drinks it, which shows that he's the thing because he's pretending to be human. It's all that kind of stuff, like all of those little things, and you don't fucking know. And John Carpenter's been asked, he's like, oh yeah, no, I know the ending. It's like, oh, so what is it? He's like, oh, I'm not fucking ever telling anybody.
Wow. And those two variations, I never would have picked up on either of those. But now that you've said that, it's like like now going through my head. Like, well, which is it?
Yeah, because there's so many times, like there's a point in the film where when they put Wilford Brimley out in that shack, MacReady comes out, is talking to him, grabs a bottle of Smirnoff vodka off the table, unscrews it, drinks it, and then hands it over to him. So
was he the
there's a
thing the whole time?
The whole time could very well have been, but like then he passes the blood test, but we don't know if that's his real blood. It could have been something else.
Is
Who
it
fucking knows?
Is it
Like,
blood from a part where the thing hasn't infiltrated yet?
Is it blood from the blood bank that got fucking ruined earlier? You know, like
Is that why the
fucking
blood
knows?
bank got ruined earlier? Oh.
Yep, who knows? Who knows?
We'll never
But yeah,
know.
that's why I love this movie. But unless you girls have anything else to hit on, we'll get into our review.
I don't think so. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, well, okay. Well, no. Who was everybody's favorite character in this movie? I think this is pretty much a unanimous thing, but I figured we would just.
I've got a top three.
We'll do it.
I've got a top three,
Okay.
but
I like
I'll let you girls go first.
McCready. I mean, like the main character.
Yeah.
That's where I am too. Yeah. Same thing.
McCready, obviously, top character. Period. And then a tie for second is Wilford Brimley and Childs. I love them both in the film. So
They're good.
I just really love the way that they work. Excuse me, the way they work with McCready and everything, and the tension between those three works really well. The other guys are good.
Yeah.
They do there is not a bad actor in this movie in my book. Like even the like side characters that you only get a little bit here and there play their roles really well.
So the guy who he was the tall guy that was shooting the gun and stuff. He's been in a lot of older movies, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. The guy that's actually like in control through the whole thing, the one that had the keys and all that stuff.
Yeah. I'm gonna look him up real quick.
Yeah, because I think he'd been in some like a lot of stuff.
He looks really familiar to me, so that's kind of where I'm like, why does he look so familiar?
I didn't know Childs was Keith David.
Yeah, this is actually.
Yeah, that's what
Oh,
I was
I
just
missed
This
that
is
part
actually-
earlier.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, this is actually what kind of started his career and everything.
Okay.
Same with Wilford Brimley. Like Wilford
Yeah.
Brimley was like basically a nobody prior to this and everything. It's like, so it's one of those things like for us looking back, it's like, oh, it's got all these fucking people in it. It's like, yeah, because like kind of like
Because
Scream.
of this.
Yeah, because of this. This is like, even though it was like critically like shat on or whatever, they still got a lot of work, you know.
So Donald Moffat or whatever
Moffat?
Moffat is the guy who I'm talking. Moffat, yeah, that's the guy I'm talking about. He was in. I'm trying to see if there's anything. He was in 61, which is a baseball movie. Let's see if there's anything that I can pull him from. Or he just looks familiar for whatever reason. I don't know. Oh, he was in House Sitter. That's.
Oh yes, House Sitter.
Nope.
Do you remember that
No,
movie
I
at all?
don't remember that.
No. Okay. It's a Steve Martin film. I think it's got Goldie. Is it Goldie Hawn in it?
Yeah.
I think so.
This
trying to
is
see if
actually
there's
just
anything.
a origin story for Goldie Hawn. She's actually the thing that was found in the ice, and then
Oh,
she runs off with Kurt Russell into the sunset.
Yeah. That's nice. That's nice. Honey. Yeah, I don't. It says The Thing, but I know I've seen him in something else. I just can't remember what it was. I was like, maybe it was something like really popular, but
He's just
He was in the
he's got one of
original.
those faces.
Yeah, he was in the original Born Identity and Clear and Present Danger, according to Google.
yeah,
Any of those? No?
Okay.
yeah. No, I don't think so. I don't know. Something about the way he looks. It's like he looks
He
familiar.
kind of looks like a worn out work boot,
He,
you know.
he looks like he would play a
Whatever.
good butler.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Anyway,
Okay.
all right,
So
go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
rating
Go ahead,
times.
Steph. What do you got? What's your rating for it? Yeah, you're starting it.
Why?
Yeah, you're starting it.
I don't like doing this.
it.
do it.
Um,
Do it.
I always get caught up in like, okay, do I rate this like overall, like against other like movies as a whole, which is what I try to do.
Just horror.
Or if you're just rating against horror,
horror.
I don't like doing that. Just movies in general. I would say this movie is a solid 6.5 for me. I think it's good. I would watch it again just to see the craziness of it, but it's not something that I love. Like I'm not gonna be like a proponent of like, yeah, this is the greatest horror movie. I didn't dislike it, I guess, and it was better the second time around, surprisingly, than it was the first time, which shocked me because the first time I think I was just too caught up in like what the fuck's happening that I didn't really get to pay as much of attention to the details as I did the second time around. But I do believe, like what I said earlier, is slow in some spots, and that's why I told Nick that, you know, Tasha's gonna fall asleep 3 times during this movie. Okay, All right, guys, your turn.
All right, Tasha, what do you
A
got?
solid 5.
Okay.
For a lot of the same reasons Steph said. Yes, I would. I stayed awake for the whole thing, but there were special circumstances. So I couldn't.
Because you had to watch it right before the podcast.
Yep. So I can't factor that in, which I usually do. Yeah, it was. I liked the special effects parts of it, and other than that, it was kind of throwaway. And I know that like probably breaks everyone's heart that's a fan of it because I didn't really get the paranoia component of it. It was just like no, it didn't resonate with me. I knew that's kind of what they were going for with the like, the suspenseful like warming of the thing and warming of the wire and you have to watch our words.
On today's episode of Warming of the Thing.
Like how that was really drawn out with like the sizzle of the blood and stuff like that. So I knew that it was doing that. It just didn't resonate with me. Those scenes were just very slow. So a 5, solid 5. I don't think I would watch it again. I mean, if it was on like at your house, I would hang out and watch it, but it's not one that I would pick.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I wouldn't pick it either. I would watch it if I was like, this isn't a movie that I go pull off the shelf and be like, I want to watch this movie today. I'd be like, okay, if somebody wants to watch it, I'll watch it.
And then I would pop in for the crazy scenes and then go do something else for the rest. And
yep. Yeah. I played on my phone when it was the slow part, so that might have been why it was better. And then I put my phone down when it was normal, and that
did a little bit of that too, which is part of the reason why I probably stayed awake. So anyway,
well,
yeah,
a 5.
We've got 2 empty spots on Pot of the Dead, starting off the new year again.
Those are not bad.
Dude, I did my homework.
I'm just kidding. I am going to completely fuck up the curve, though. Obviously, shocking.
You're the outlier today.
Yeah.
But I'm fighting with myself, my initial score to it, and then trying to be real and all that stuff. This movie is very important to me. The only other film that we've watched that is as important to me is The Evil Dead 2. So that's the one that I have to fight with myself and everything. And I'm trying to like come up with excuses and stuff.
Why do you have to compare the two?
Well, no, I'm not comparing them. I just know what I scored The Evil Dead 2. Yeah. And
you're allowed to put feelings.
Oh yeah, that's how
I know
nostalgia into your
movie. That's how I make
like that's normal.
No, I 100% agree. Like my thing is just like I'm like, does it sit in that same like I love The Thing, like unlike a lot of movies. Like I love it like for a lot of reasons and stuff like that.
You're wearing the shirt today, and you wear it all the time, and like. And then if we're talking about, okay, Nick, what are your favorite movies of all time? There's like 3 movies that come up, and that's one of the 3.
Yes. So.
No, there's actually 5 movies that come up, but that's one of the 5.
Well, before I give mine, what are my 5 movies that I said?
I would say you would say Seven's one of your favorites because you talk about all the time. Really I would say John Wick 4 is another one that's been added to the list because you talk about that all the time. I would say Beetlejuice, The Thing, and I just had the other one on the top of my head. The Departed.
That's good. That's a good list. There's a couple others I'd throw in there, but
I know, but those are the ones you talk about the most.
I would put 13 Assassins in there.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the number. I wanted to try to get it before you said it.
But all that being said, like literally, it was just like you can't give this a 10, can you, Nick? Yeah, I think I'm giving this a 10.
Okay.
So this is a 10 out of 10 because that's what I gave Evil Dead 2. And that's what I'm giving this. Is it a 10 out of 10 for a 38-year-old to see it for the first time? Probably not. If I would have seen this today, probably not. I have such a relationship with this film over my life. It has influenced my taste in a lot of movies. It's all because of that stuff. So I'm giving it a 10 out of 10, but I'm giving it with like that kind of caveat. Like if you watch it and you're like, this is not a 10 out of 10 film. It's like, you didn't live my life, motherfucker. You didn't see this when you were 10 years old.
Yeah, that's true. There's no wrong answer. I mean, a 10 out of 10 for you. Like, people would ask me, and I would be, I mean, I don't know if there's any movies I'd give a 10 out of 10 just because I'm a picky ass bitch. But I would say that, like, if somebody asked me if Crybaby was the greatest movie ever made, it's so not. But am I going to rate it like a 9 or a 10? Fuck yes, I am. I love that movie. It is so good. But is it really some, like, fantastical movie? No, but I watched it over 100 times when I was a kid. Yeah. So obviously there's some kind of proponent to it there. So yeah, I mean, that's fine. You're definitely throwing our numbers off like a motherfucker, but that's okay.
Yeah, my whole thing is I long story short, I try to keep my 10 out of 10s to a minimum. Like I don't like giving I do not like giving it out because I feel like giving a 10 out of 10 is actually an easy answer. It's like, oh, it's 10 out of 10. You know, so that's my. But do you think you would do that for Beetlejuice? No, I don't think I'd give it a 10 out of 10.
Okay, so this movie just hits differently because of what it has in it in terms of like the creature feature thing for you.
It's because of what it has influenced film-wise for me and opening doors. So like, side note and whatever, I guess. So like Beetlejuice is very pocketed. Like I really like Beetlejuice for what it is. It didn't like open up doors to other films that were like it and stuff like that, because the other films that are like it, I'm not a big fan of. Like I don't really care for like Drop Dead Fred, and like Little Monsters is okay, but it's not even
shut your mouth. That is not true.
It's not even close to Beetlejuice in my opinion.
You are so wrong. That movie's better than Beetlejuice.
Get the fuck out of here.
It is so much better. It is. Like, it is so much better.
I guess we're gonna have to watch those ones sometime. But but yeah, like there's just like not as much to compare it to and stuff like that, which I mean, like you could also say it's like, well, that should make it better and everything. It's like, yeah, but like I also don't care for a lot of Tim Burton films. Like there's a handful of them, but I'll give you Beetlejuice, I'll give you Edward Scissorhands, and I'm sure there's another one that's a
Sleepy
Hollow. That's about it. Like the Batman movies, they're okay, they're pretty and stuff, but like
they're really slow too. We just rewatched the new Batman, or the first Batman, and while it's dark and fun, it is so fucking slow.
And like this one, like you guys say it's slow and stuff like that. When it's slow though, like it's not slow to me, because those are the parts where I'm looking at everything in the background going like, wait, what about that? Okay, what's going on here? Who's that? Like all of those little things. And that's why this movie this time, like we'll just say it's the 50th time, I was still just like completely engrossed in it.
Yeah, and I couldn't get that detailed of like captivation out of this. Yeah. They were just like characters in a space.
Yep.
So that gives us a 21.5 out of 30. What's that give us as a score?
So that gives us a 72.
Hell yeah!
I also did it without the outlier. And that's a 58 if you just take Steph and me.
Still a pass. It's still a pass because it's 50-50.
Yeah.
It's still a pass.
Yeah, we already knew that because like it's not. It didn't hate this movie.
Yes. You will like more likely than not, if you watch this movie, you'll have a good time. Like that's about it. Like whether you love it or not, more people than not. I think if you sat 10 people down, you would get 5.8 people to like the movie.
I think this is a better movie to watch with people with you, because if you're watching this by yourself, you don't have the opportunity to talk about it. And I think this is one of those movies that you really should talk and kind of play off each other's reactions when you're watching it. It definitely hits differently when you do that versus if you were just sitting in your bed watching it yourself.
Exactly what I was doing.
You have that like, yeah, I think it's kind of like, did you just see what the fuck that was? And then you're talking about what happened, and then you're coming up together or collectively with multiple people of what they think's happening, because this movie doesn't tell you like verbatim what's happening. You have to infer so much shit and kind of come up with your own conclusions, and I think that's what makes it fun. It's like it's not a whodunit, because it kind of is, kind of isn't, but it's got that aspect of like community. The movie's a community movie. It definitely should be watched, in my opinion, as a community movie.
Yeah, that's cool. One last little thing, talking about community and stuff like that. It has become a tradition in the British Antarctic research stations to watch The Thing as part of their mid-winter fest and celebration held every June 21st. So these motherfuckers sit in the Arctic watching a film about people in the Arctic getting
Dying.
fucked up.
That's cool.
That's neat. Yeah, I like that. That's cute.
But yeah, so
Okay.
so
So what are we watching next
yep,
week?
so that's The Thing. If you haven't seen it and you're still here, go see it. Maybe you came back after to see what for homework because we forgot to talk about that previously, that this is a movie club.
That's all right.
But for next week's episode, we are going to watch 1408.
Okay.
Okay.
1408 has John Cusack and Samuel L.
Wow.
Jackson in it, and it is based on a Stephen King story.
Okay.
You don't like John
I
Cusack?
don't like John Cusack.
Neither do I.
Okay. I think I may have. This sounds familiar.
It's about a hotel room.
Yeah, I think I saw it ages ago, but
Okay.
so it'll still be relatively.
I've actually never seen this movie,
I haven't
and
either.
it's one of those films that a lot of people have told me because of my tastes and stuff like that. Oh, you gotta check that out. And I thought it's got big enough stars in it. It's not so much of a culty cult kind of film in the sense of like independent or anything that I figured maybe
Is this found footage-ish?
Nope.
Okay, because that's your thing too.
I like found footage. Yeah, found footage.
Me
is pretty
too.
good.
Yeah.
We're gonna get some of that in February when we do
Mhm.
foreign film February.
Dun, dun, dun.
Maybe we'll half and half it. Foreign film and found footage February. Maybe we'll do it like that. For Pod of the Dead, I am Nicholas.
I'm Stephanie.
I'm Natasha.
And come back and listen to us. Or else.